Happy November! It's time to talk turkey. And by turkey, we mean scale.
What kind of turkey scale are you on? Here we are, back at it again. Back with Nick, aka 8-Bit Fart. And the backdrop hasn't changed, so we're doing another toy video, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So here we are going to do toys, and funny thing, Nick did a search for what was your Google search? He was trying to look for a duo of toys, a duo toy review channel.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't exactly PG-13.
It was actually kind of surprising how graphic it was to be allowed on YouTube. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, search up couples toy reviews.
By the way, are we a couple? Kick off, Nick. What are we doing?
We are talking about scale, and specifically McFarlane's 7-inch scale, which is now very much in the ecosystem of, toy collectors. I know people were really, hardline into McFarlane before they started getting their expanded licenses. He came out just swinging this time with the DC licenses, and what else is he making?
Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Does that still fall under DC?
I mean, they had a crossover with the video games, so I mean, like loosely affiliated.
Yeah.
Fortnite. I've been buying a lot of the Fortnite.
Is that McFarlane?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're pretty great. The McFortnite, the Fortnite toys, absolutely terrific. In fact, there's a few I wish that I had picked up when I had the opportunity to, like the Banana Man. I don't play Fortnite. I don't know jack diddly about it, but I do know that the toys are sick.
I think I bought one, the robot dude with the guns. Pistols?
Aimbot.
Yeah. The only reason why I bought him was so I can use the pistols for DC Red Hood figures. I have no other reason to get Fortnite.
I told you about that one too.
Yeah.
The cool one was
cool. The wolf dude was pretty cool.
I got the wolf dude. Not only is he a werewolf, he also has a ninja sword, nunchucks, a shotgun, and a sledgehammer.
So are the Fortnite figures 7-inch scale or 6-inch scale?
I think they're 7-inch.
All 7. So is McFarlane solely doing 7-inch?
For those series, where it comes in like that window box.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on McFarlane stuff. I just know that whatever he's been releasing, him personally out in the shed making toys and putting them out there in the store.
Just like Grandpa used to.
Just like Grandpa used to make. Whatever McFarlane as a company has been releasing has just been hot fire, despite some, not loss of joints, but lack of joints.
Yeah, they compromise, right? I mean, so, spoiler, we got a couple here. Well, one. This is the DC McFarlane Azrael. He's a super dope figure. I don't get why they're not including thigh swivel. I get how unrealistic it is, but I don't know. They're toys. They need all these points of articulation that clearly us humans don't have to achieve some poses that us humans can do.
It's cool, but I mean, like, am I even missing out by not having a thigh swivel at that point? They could really do without the toe crunch. What would you even like?
The toe bend.
Yeah,
it's kind of useful. I don't know. I feel if I were to lose something to gain something with the McFarlane figures, that's tough. Just because you get the ab crunch, which is cool, but it's not enough. If it had thigh swivel for me, that would be perfect.
Does he have a bicep swivel?
He has an upper bicep swivel, yeah, right at the shoulder joint.
That's the important one, I think.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's the only DC figure I have that's opened. Yeah.
But you got a whole bunch that you can go grab right now.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of DC Multiverse Dark Knights metal figures unopened still. Probably gonna do a video separate for that. So I don't want to open them quite yet. But yeah, I don't think any of them are gonna have any thigh swivel or any real different joints that's gonna change my opinion about the concept in general. And I guess the hard part is, since I'm coming from since I'm a collector of 6-inch scale is what I'll be using. But I've been a 6-inch scale toy collector since however long. I've never done anything. Yeah, I've never even collected like a tall G.I. Joe figure before. I think the only tall figure I bought, and it was only because it was on sale, was the Black Stormtrooper from the Star Wars movie. What scale will this be then? Okay, so the only doll figure I have is...
Doll figure?
So the only doll I have is a Death Trooper from Rogue One. Beyond that, everything has been 6-inch scale. 6 inch is all I work with, that's what she said. How do you integrate this into a 6-inch scale collection, right? I guess that's the biggest issue I'm finding personally. Because the DC stuff from McFarlane is dope. I mean, it's super cool. I just don't see how I'm going to integrate this stuff with my existing 6-inch scale collection.
I think this is more of a problem for you, and I don't mean like, ooh, you know, deal with it, it's your problem. Whereas it didn't strike me as unusual because I collect NECA figures, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those are 7-inch scale dudes, especially like, you know, the aliens or the xenomorph from Aliens. Fairly large figures that tower over the human element in them. So when I started getting some of these McFarlane figures, the scale didn't seem off to me because, I mean, that's kind of what I was familiar with. But I think Batman Who Laughs was really the jumping off part for me to like get more into McFarlane rather than just, you know, pick up the Fortnites of whatever dudes I just thought looked cool.
DC Multiverse didn't come out with a Batman Who Laughs until this line, right? So
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like I've seen, you know, DC toys. I didn't know who made them, and apparently it was just DC themselves with DC Essentials. I think you told me that.
Yeah.
I always thought they were like, not Kenner, but Mattel.
Oh, Kenner used to be it, and then who left off of it? Mattel? I think the DC Essentials line, I think that was a happy medium because you're getting a 7-inch scale. For instance, with this Cyborg Superman. You're getting a 7-inch scale with articulation. I think the only drawback is the paint. It's kind of, I want to say, it's kind of chalky to a certain degree.
Matte.
I don't know. I want to just say matte because like, I feel like you get a lot more paint rub with this.
When I was handling it earlier, it does feel matte, but it feels like rough. Like, it's not that it's chalky and it's not that it has a grit to it, but it almost has like a film.
Something, right?
It doesn't feel great.
Yeah. But like this was, you were getting really close with having a really good 7-inch toy line with the DC Essentials, which is now canceled and going over to McFarlane. But it was just lacking a little bit. I mean, it had cool, I guess, I don't know, the joints are just really stiff. It's definitely more so for posing versus playing with. That's a given, right? So, but there's some inconsistencies with this figure. Some joints are a little more swivelly.
That's a word. Yeah, it is now.
Oh, so some joints are more swivelly than others. Like his thighs, they swivel like crazy. One thigh swivels like crazy, the other is kind of stuck.
I think playability with a toy and poseability are kind of hand in hand. Because I mean, I don't really play with my toys outside of, you know, photographing them, but I feel like if it's more posable, if it has more, you know, articulation, if it's a lot more, if it's higher in swivelaciousness, it's an overall better product because, you know, posing it's how I get my fun out of it. So I think playability and poseability are kind of, you know, the same beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I like to pose them and stand them up in different like scenarios and fight scenes and whatnot, there still needs to be a bit of playability when it comes to these figures, because if you don't have it, some of the poses feel like, okay, this might be the last pose this figure takes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the joints just don't feel as if they should be moving that frequently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but with the scale, like it's, I don't know, I feel like the bigger ones have that more of that brittle, I don't want to say brittle, but I feel like the bigger 70 stuff, they don't have that playability factor where you feel comfortable posing them regularly, easily, without feeling like something's gonna snap. Like just now, swiveling the shin of Cyborg Superman, I felt like it was gonna snap, and I don't feel like buying a new one. So,
you know, I that's a good point you bring up, because like I feel like the smaller the scale of the toy is, the more rough you can be with it, I guess.
Right.
And the way I'm approaching that in my head is like 3 3/4 figures. Pretty beefy little dudes, even if you don't have like a lot of articulation to them. Specifically the Star Wars vintage line, where they are 3 3/4. I don't personally collect it, but I do have a few of them for whatever reason. I just thought Stormtroopers were cool, and they're pretty solid. And even going smaller scale, I had a bunch of these Halo Mega Blocks guys.
Those are fun.
You could run those things through a garbage disposal, and I'm sure they're still going to be fine.
But at what point does scaling down not need like certain aspects of posability? Like ab crunch, right? Like I think DC is having a couple of new 3 3/4 inch scale stuff that's posable. But and they're getting some more posability from that's compared to like 6-inch scale. That my mouth is dry right now. So you're getting some of these 3 3/4 inch scale figures that are having like posability that's relatively comparable to a 6-inch scale, but at what aspect do you not need like certain aspects of like certain points of posability? Like, do you need a wrist swivel at 3 3/4 scale? I mean, it's nice.
Yeah.
And it would make posing a lot more better with certain figures if you had it, but is it necessary?
So here's what I'm thinking it is in my head. The more posable it is, kind of like the bigger it is. So you kind of have to like find that happy medium where, you know, you get the pose you want out of it, and it's not gonna fall apart in your hands. And in my head, that's always been like, you know, the 6-inch, 7-inch area.
But it's hard because then you got like the Revoltech, right? You got some of the Revoltech minis that are obviously they're gonna be $50-$60, right? They're not the same price point, so it's not comparable. But when you have somebody of that scale that has that level of posability, like how do you justify not having it at that point? You know, like you're spoiled. Clearly, you're spending $50-$60 on a small ass toy. You're spoiling yourself. But when it comes to the general spectrum of your collection, 3 3/4 inch, 6, 7, doll scale. How do you justify certain points of articulation and certain points where it's like, you know what, for that scale, it's not necessary. Like I figure for a 70 scale, thigh swivel should absolutely be there.
It's also dependent very much so on the character, though. Because I think some 6-inch scale can very, very well get away with being, you know, stiff bricks.
Who? There's a few, but like who, for instance, would you say?
Well, I wasn't going to be put on the spot like this.
This is impromptu, unscripted, and guess what? Now he's gonna act.
Yeah.
Go.
I will revisit that when I actually think of it, because where I was going with it is, so when it comes to certain characters, they do need a lot of posability, regardless of what scale they're on. Spider-Man specifically, but also recently I've been quite taken with the Hasbro G.I. Joe reboot line going on, and I finally got a Snake Eyes.
Oh, finally.
Oh my god. Snake Eyes is just... it's perfect. He's got the thigh swivel, he's got a crazy ab crunch, he's got that double jointed neck socket thing. He's got butterfly joints. Did I already say that one? When it comes to posability and the quality of the toy feel, they're both perfect, spot on. He can accomplish any pose that you really need to, get him into. He feels great, and I wish Marvel Legends started to feel more like that.
Do the G.I. Joe figures have any different points of articulation than Marvel Legends? Are there any additional add-ons?
Yes. So the two that plop out in my head and fall onto the floor like a turd is they have the double socketed neck thing. So they have a like ball socket at the base of where his head connects to the neck and where the neck connects to the body. And you think that it's not that big of a joint, but I mean, like, you can really get some human feeling poses out of that. And the other thing is that on the hip, their legs can come not out of socket, but they're on like a. This is how it's like connected in their like hip area, and they can kind of like move independently, almost like the original 3/3/4, not original, like the second generation of G.I. Joe, where they're 3/3/4 scale, because their first original one was doll scale.
Do they have rubber bands in their torso too?
They do not have rubber bands in their torso, thankfully. And they aren't attached by like a metal hook in their crotch.
I remember having a few that popped out and trying to get that rubber band back into that hook.
Couldn't do it, but you know who could do it was my mom, who used her sewing tools to do that for me. I was just the stupidest kid, and I kept doing it too, because as was my compulsion.
So what pose were you trying to get them in at that?
Blown up.
So, going back to scale, so 6 inch is killing it, right? They're getting the most well-rounded points of articulation, whether it be Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, DC, Power Rangers. But when it comes to the 7 inch scale, they're close, but they're just, I don't know, there's just something about them that doesn't sit right with my collection.
So this begs the question, at which point, aside from just the character overall being a bigger character, which point does the 7 inch scale replace something from the 6 inch scale? Now, I'm not very, tuned into DC, but whatever McFarlane's been putting out with the DC stuff has been so good that I've picked up quite a bit of it.
I don't know if any of these guys are going to replace my pre-existing characters. Superman was close. Mm-hmm. I never ended up getting Superman, but then he looks really good except for the chalky kind of face paint he has on him. He looks like he's wearing a lot of foundation.
So he's Bizarro.
He looks like a Suicide Girl. He looks like a social media influencer.
He looks like he has a palette coming out any day now.
He has a line of Mac.
He looks like a juggalo.
He does look like a juggalo. Especially this new one. He kind of looks like a juggalo.
Whoop whoop.
There's any magnets?
Damn, how do those work?
So I don't see any of the figures in that line replacing any pre-existing figure they have. Right? They're great. They're cool. But I think what I'm going for when it comes to the McFarlane is more so the DC Batman stuff. Mm-hmm. Because they're just great standalone figures. Like the DC Dark Knight's Metal. They all look really cool in their own right.
Oh my god.
Especially with, like Devastator.
Yeah.
He looks super sick.
I don't know a thing about Devastator. Kinda want one just because he's a big burly boy. Yeah. The one I will be picking up with enthusiasm is the what is it called? Dark Knight Metal Motorcycle. And the like brutal like death metal Batman to ride it. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I think there's a Storm Collectibles Lobo, Darkseid, and Doomsday that I really want. Mm-hmm. I don't know where they're gonna.
Lobo is that big though.
That's the thing, right? Those characters are represented as being big. and you can imagine them just being big hulking characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where I can justify somebody's 7-inch scale is that they become that big hulking character in the line. But when you have like a 7-inch Batman and like a 6-inch Nightwing, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be in. I think Dick Grayson is actually taller than Batman, or the exact same height, just skinnier, or I mean, smaller build. So yeah, I don't know where to put the 7-inch scale in my collection. Besides, totally standalone.
It sounds like you're going into 7-inch scale McFarlane just as a entirely separate beast.
Yeah. So where can you find a spot in your collection with 7-inch, with your pre-existing 6-inch collection?
So I'm not in the same derelict lifeboat that you are, because I don't have any of the DC essentials or anything like that. I have my own 7-inch set of just Fortnite guys hanging around, and I think I've also incorporated like just McFarlane in general in one area. Like I have the Fortnite guys, and then for whatever reason with them, I also much of an issue integrating my 7-inch stuff into the rest of the collection because everything's Transformers, and how is the scale really there? There's no scale there.
So do you just throw your miscellaneous figures into the void of like, all right, there's a space right there, you go there?
Kind of. I have a McFarlane section, but I'm keeping my like Batman stuff separate from it. Just
so that's the thing for me. I collect in like teams. I like to build out teams, build out like story arcs. With this DC, with the new stuff coming out, I don't think I'm gonna diverge far from the Batman stuff. Just so I don't have to go too deep into the McFarlane DC series. They're cool, but I think if I keep it streamlined to just Batman and the Bat family and all that, then I don't have to worry about too much.
Here's a question. You have a pretty legit Bat family setup, splice picture here. If McFarlane released an equivalent of it, would you buy them all? And if you got them all, would that replace the original?
I think so. So currently with the Bat family, I have. I'm not even satisfied with Batman itself with the DC McFarlane yet. So I don't have my quintessential DC McFarlane Batman.
Yeah, and I don't have one of that either yet. The closest I have to it, and it's not the Batman, is the one where he has the two axes.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah. What is that? Batman metal?
I guess he's in part of that toy set over there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Who is he?
Some Batman?
Baxman?
He wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, so I think I would keep the Bat family going on through them. So far I have Batgirl, Nightwing. I ordered the Red Hood with the new 52 Nightwing. I have that coming in at some point, whenever that releases.
It should be shipping pretty soon. That's the Walmart exclusive.
I got it for Target. They did a general release for Target. Yeah, order 2. Excited. I had one with a coupon.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, man. I was excited for that one. And then I realized it was just for one item. So I was like, oh, well, at least I got my one. But there's been no reveal for Tim Drake, but there has been a reveal for Damian Wayne. So once the Red Hood comes in, and if they ever reveal a Tim Drake, and then I get Damian Wayne, then I'll have the core Bat family. I think the only one who would be missing would be Cassandra Cain,
Alfred, Terry McGinnis.
He's not really part of the Bat family.
Terry McGinnis is the Bat family.
He's the last bit of the Bat family after the Bat family retired.
Batman Beyond is my favorite.
Good Batman.
Batman.
And what's the other? Who's the redhead? Ruby Rose played her for like a season.
Gordon?
No, that's Batgirl. The other redhead.
Poison Ivy.
And then you could go deeper into the extension of the Bat family. You have Batwing, you have Duke Thomas, you have Clayface if you so choose, you have Stephanie Brown, you have, I don't know, a whole bunch of people.
I've just tuned out at this point.
Yeah.
So
Azrael.
scale-wise, I think 7-inch scale actually incorporates pretty well with some of the 6-inch figures, depending on the character. You know, obviously Batman Devastator is gonna look super sick with the 6-inch scale stuff because he's that kind of like hulking beast.
Yeah,
man.
right? We are now in a different color. Devastator being a big hulking guy, that's fine. He can be 6-inch scale. I think he's even taller, which is perfectly fine. But that's the thing, I'm okay with those big dudes. I'm okay with the antagonist being egregiously tall. Out of scale in terms of like action figure definition, right? But when it comes to the heroes, I more or less want them in scale. I want them to be in the same eye line.
So you're saying your final answer for how to integrate 7-inch into a 6-inch collection is that if it's a protagonist, it does not make sense.
I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Unless it's someone like Big Barda, which I guess more so is if the current representation of those characters in the figures that I have are underrepresented in terms of height.
So it sounds like your 3 pillars of importance is going to be how well it's put together, so the quality of the figure,
Given.
The posability, but number 1 for you is going to be scale.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it comes down to, for me at least, right? It's like, scale is super important because everything I have, up to a certain degree, are 6-inch scale. Very far and few are 7-inch, and it's only because the figure itself is cool.
I think that's where we're on the inverse, because outside of Transformers for me, scale is my least important thing.
It's weird.
Transformers, scale was not an issue until I started reading IDW and getting further and further down the rabbit hole of Transformers collecting, where it's like, scale is actually pretty important now. But outside of Transformers, I could not give a shit. Scale is 3rd, well behind posability and quality, like solidness of the figure.
I guess because I go by teams, right? So if you're trying to build a team, would you have teams from different lines?
No, and that's we're 2 different types of collectors on there. The only teams that I really have right now, outside of Transformers, is I guess Alien, and even then, like, if they came out with a sick Alien to go along with the human figures, I'd probably integrate it even if it wasn't like 100% scale accurate. In the Power Rangers, I'm only missing 2, and one of them's in my pile of loot now. Yes, in that specific team, I don't want to have Zach 3 feet taller than Jason. So scale is important within the sub team you have going on, but in general, for my main collection, I don't care too much about scale.
So in short, Nick is still wrong when it comes to toys. He doesn't care about scale. That's weird. He doesn't like cohesion.
But the scale can be, changed when you're photographing it, when you're photographing it.
Yeah, but then when you have it as a standalone figure, coinciding with other teammates.
Look, when I bring women back to my place, they're not really concerned about the scale of my toys. They just see it and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they leave. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? How important is scale to you in your collection?
So let us know. Let us know what you think when it comes to scale in your personal collection. Is it important? Is articulation important when it comes to certain scale classes?
Here's something I want to know. When you're displaying your toys, do you have them displayed in action poses, or are they just standing up straight?
Depends. Are you doing a diorama type of display, or are you doing... Because there's some people who do like Dragon Ball Z, right? For the Dragon Ball Figure Arts Collection enthusiasts, they have them all in poses, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And that's just a whole lot of figure arts to display with all the effects and stands, and I have no room for that. It depends if it's a team. So for me, for team specific displays, be more or less like a kind of like a action, fight stance, depending on the character. Some will just be static. Some will be in if I have a Tamashi stand, they'll stand up flying or floating. What do you do?
So, I mean, it depends. So for my Transformers, originally I had them all in action stances, but then I had to start pruning from the collection, and not because I was downsizing, but because I had better representations of characters. Video on this one coming soon, where they were replacing older iterations of them, and the more crowded it got, I had to have them standing a little bit more upright, less dynamically. I remember the two that I was really broken up about changing to a more subdued stance was I had a Twin Twist and his brother Topspin, and I had them really low to the ground, squat with their guns out, and they were covering each other's backs, and I just, oh god, I took photos of them, so at least they're there for posterity's sake. Now when it comes to my Marvel stuff, because the only Marvel stuff I'm really displaying right now is my Spider-Man stuff, but mostly symbiotes, because they have a little bit more breathing room, because I'm only just doing that one specific team of them. They're all very dynamic posed. And then my NECA stuff for my Alien, my Predator, my horror stuff, they have kind of a pose that gives them a little bit of personality, wielding their signature weapon, or like a trophy or something. But I don't have them all spread out, dynamic, playing off each other like they're on like a battlefield together. I want the room to do that, but mostly it's just I have them looking idle but interesting, where I'm trying to showcase their more interesting features.
When it comes to your symbiote collection, would scale discrepancy be a factor? Because you said you wanted the Diamond Select Venom.
Yes.
Would you integrate him into that display?
I would. It's not that I'm displaying the whole team, because I'm not gonna ever have all the symbiotes, because Jan won't sell me the ones that I want. In that symbiote display, I have stuff that's not even canonical to it. I have some art vinyls and some Labbits and just whatever, just cool symbiote stuff. If I really needed to convince myself, I could probably put Spawn in there, because one of my favorite tropes in superhero stuff is having this gross parasite that's like also your armor and everything. So like, you know, Carnage, Venom, Spawn, Witchblade, all that stuff. That's kind of the same like headcanon. I know they're not in the same universe and all that, but
Akira
is he doesn't have armor. Akira is just this gross eldritch being of meat and cyberneticism. But I get what you're getting at. So would I put that in the collection? Yes, but not.
So I can see it working in that sense because they could also grow in size.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like if the character can grow in size and be a little bit bigger than typical, that's fine.
Mass shifting is a thing.
Yeah. Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Robots in disguise.
But beyond that, scale matters.
Scale doesn't matter.
Comment below. Let us know what you guys think when it comes to scale, articulation, and how do you find a happy medium, right? Clearly my happy medium is scale or bust. I'm pretty much one of those kind of truists, right?
Your happy medium is buy everything and then sort it out later.
Pretty fucking much. Buy it all.
There is no happy medium, no halvesies, all holesies.
See, that's the thing. Even when it comes to Transformers, if I had true scale with Transformers, Skylinks would be huge.
It would be bigger than Metroplex because they'd have to fit inside of him.
Mm-hmm.
So scale can't be that important to you, you liar.
Yeah, but you know what? Since he came out with an upgraded version versus the Titans Return one, he's more in scale now than that previous iteration. So
Yeah, no, I'm super happy that I got Skylynx because my my Skylynx is a gross abomination of a combiner now.
yeah, that other Skylynx was just, it did what it needed to do, and then MMC one-upped it. Then Hasbro had to play catch-up, and that's perfectly fine. So,
Combiner or Skylynx was a necessary evil to give me my awful Deathsaurus.
no, I know, but then they could have used the Silverbolt mold.
They
still
could
done
have
a good job.
They could have, but they didn't.
They got
for
sick of-
whatever reason.
They got sick of milking that guy. But if they did a Silverbolt mold to finish up him,
Yeah.
done.
All right. Well, that was scale talk.
And clearly we have no idea what we're talking about. So
That's not true. We are the authority on everything that has to do with toys. So we want to know your opinions, but mostly it's just to know what percentage of our audience is wrong or not.
matter of fact. So Jan Hella
Nick Kutzman,
and how are we gonna close this one out?
goodbye.